Tim Hardaway Jr. had a special homecoming, but it was the rookie Josh Green that turned things around in the second quarter for the Dallas Mavericks to cool off the heat in Miami. This is the Gray Area right here on Kevin Gray Sports. My name is Kevin Gray. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right there for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube. And you can find me on your home of the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. The Dallas Mavericks got a 127-113 win over the Miami Heat, moving to 37-28 on the season, 20-13 on the road to move to a season-high 9 games above 500. And yes, currently own the 5th seed in the Western Conference by virtue of having the season tiebreaker over the Los Angeles Lakers because they won the season series over LeBron James and Tinseltown. So things are right now right where the Mavericks need them to be, in the 5th seed as far as the Western Conference playoff standings are concerned, and got a really good road win against the Miami Heat, who, yes, were missing Jimmy Butler, but nonetheless, the Dallas Mavericks were also missing Kristaps Porzingis, who sat out the game again due to right knee soreness, and also Maxi Kleber, who was dealing with Achilles soreness. More on that a little bit later on. But the Dallas Mavericks got off to a poor start in this game, allowing the Miami Heat to score 39 points. 87-year-old Trevor Ariza got out there and scored 16 points to help the Miami Heat go 8 of 9 from downtown. At one point, Trevor Ariza put your man Luka Doncic on skates and hit a three-pointer right in his face. But things changed when the rookie out of Arizona, Josh Green, got into this game in the second quarter. He played the entire second quarter, and the energy and the hustle and the winning plays that he made in the second quarter turned the game around defensively for the Mavericks. They outscored the Miami Heat 33-15 in that quarter. Josh Green going a plus 18, had 3 steals in this game, 3 assists, and of course, he wound up winning Defensive Player of the Game. In fact, in the second and third quarters alone, the Dallas Mavericks outscored the Miami Heat 68-38. They turned around what was a 9-point deficit at the end of the first quarter into a 9-point lead going into halftime, and then built on that by outscoring the Miami Heat 35-23. Tim Hardaway Jr. hit a franchise record 10 3-pointers in this game en route to 36 points. But it was the rookie Josh Green and his energy and his effort and his hustle that turned things around. Here's what Josh Green had to say when I asked him what has been the change for him throughout these last couple of weeks and throughout this season to help him to get to this point where he had the massive game that he did. Here's what he told me after the game.
Hey, Josh, obviously a huge performance tonight, plus 18 in the second quarter. What's changed for you as far as you finding your role and your niche on this team, especially on the defensive end, to have a performance like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's getting to that stretch of the season now where it's just, finding where I'm able to help out the team and, just doing whatever I can to get a win. It's a crucial part of the year. So, for me, it's just doing whatever I can do for the team to win. If that means scoring 0 points, but being on the defensive end, then I'm all for it,
So Josh Green saying, look, we're at a point in this season right now where I have to do whatever I can to help this team win basketball games, especially during this critical portion of the season. And, of course, now with 7 games left, we are down to crunch time in the last couple of weeks of the season where the Mavericks are scratching and clawing and fighting to try and hang on to a top 6 seed inside the Western Conference playoff standings. And they could not have gotten a better performance from Josh Green, who was so good in the second quarter. My man started off in the third quarter also relegating Josh Richardson to the bench. Now, Josh Richardson played well in the second half. He scored 15 of his 17 points in the second half after Josh Green took over and started the third quarter. Here is Josh Richardson after the game. ESPN's Tim McMahon asked him about being relegated to the bench to start off the third quarter and if he anticipates the fluidity of the lineups being potentially changed with him in the future. Listen to Josh Richardson's curious answer here.
Hey, Josh, Rick just praised the way that you handled coming off the bench in the second half, and obviously came out and played well after that. What did you think of that change, and do you anticipate some, potentially some fluidity in terms of who's starting a game or a half or that sort of thing?
I don't anticipate fluidity or any of that, but it is what it is. And I mean, Josh was playing hard. That group that finished the first half was they brought a different energy to the game. So, I mean, I'm happy for him, you know.
So Josh Richardson saying, no, I don't anticipate any fluidity, but the tone and the tenor of his answer left a lot to be desired given what had just happened in this game with the Miami Heat and how good Josh Green played and how well he played off the bench, especially in the second half. Because a lot of you out there on Mavs Twitter, out there on social media who cover and watch and talk about this team say, hey, it might be time to have Josh Richardson come off the bench, especially in these last 7 games, especially when Jalen Brunson also had 19 points in this game. There's a lot left to be answered with respect to Josh Richardson, not just for this year, but whether or not he picks up his $11.5 million option going into 2021-22 season. That's another conversation for another day. But this night belonged to Tim Hardaway Jr. As I mentioned, a guy who had 10 three-pointers in this game, 36 points, tied a franchise record for the Dallas Mavericks. In his last 2 starts against the Detroit Pistons and now against the Miami Heat, he has combined for 78 points, the career-high 42 that he had in saving the Mavericks against the Detroit Pistons from a terrible loss on the road. He played a huge, pivotal role, obviously, in this game against the Miami Heat. In fact, he had 18 points in the third quarter alone on his way to tying that franchise record, 10 three-pointers. I don't know what it is about these hometown games, where it be in Detroit, Michigan, where he went to school, of course, at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, or coming home where he's from in Miami, where he got to see, of course, his father's jersey, who's retired for the Miami Heat, up in the rafters with his grandmother in the building. I asked Tim Hardaway after the game, Tim, what's it about these home games, these homecoming games, that sees you play the way that you do? Here's what Tim Hardaway Jr. told me after the game.
Tim, 78 points in your last 2 starts in Detroit and in Miami. Something about these hometowns seems to get you going. What specifically gets you going in these types of games here?
You know, I just wanted to put on a show, for my loved ones, and just being able to go out and hoop. Mine's free now. I mean, a lot of those shots that I had in that little stretch, a lot of those shots were great shots. They were just not going in. And now they're going in. I just continue to work, continue to stay positive, kept my close friends, my close ones around me to make sure that I kept on shooting the ball and kept on being aggressive out there on the floor. And like I said, out there, Sham God and a lot of those guys out there really helped me out along the way. So it couldn't happen at a better time.
So obviously Tim Hardaway Jr. putting himself in the best frame of mind when it comes to playing, whether it be at his old stomping grounds in Michigan or at home in Miami. It seems to bring the best out of him in these particular situations, and they have needed him, the Mavericks have, to have these kinds of performances and will need for him to continue to do so. He even talked about after the game that even during the stretch where he was struggling shooting the ball from the three-point line, he was getting good shots. They just weren't necessarily falling for him. But obviously, once the ball started falling for him, the basket became as large as an ocean because Tim Hardaway couldn't miss against the Miami Heat and was absolutely on fire, NBA Jam style, as he helped the Miami Heat cool off the Miami Heat for the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks outscored the Heat 57-33 when Josh Green subbed in, and when he started in that second quarter, in a span of 28 minutes, outscoring the Miami Heat by 24 points. It was his energy and effort, and yes, Luka Doncic, who scored 19 of his 23 points in the first half, going 4 of 6 from the three-point line to help turn that 9-point deficit into a 9-point lead. It was the hustle and energy and defensive effort from Josh Green and Dwight Powell in the second quarter that really turned things around. I asked Rick Carlisle after the game what happened during that stretch in the second and third quarters where they outscored the Miami Heat 68-38. Here is what Rick Carlisle had to say after the game.
Rick, you guys outscored the Heat by 30 in the second and third quarters. What changed defensively between the second and third quarter there?
Well, I thought Green and Powell and Finney Smith were the were the catalysts for our defense. But, Doncic and Hardaway were really good too. And look, all of a sudden, our system defensively really picked up and was effective when everybody picked up their level of intensity. And sometimes it takes one or two guys making a couple of crazy loose ball plays like Green did and Powell did to get everybody going. And that's what we needed. And, it's been rare that I've started a different group to start the second half. I usually go back to the starters, but it was clear to me tonight that these guys needed to be out there. They earned it, and they carried it forward. So it was great to see. And look, Miami, I don't care if Butler's out and Hero and those guys. I mean, these guys are always a highly skilled, excellently coached team that's going to play their butts off. And the fact we were able to come back from a bad start and win the game is big for us, with 7 games left.
So Rick Carlisle saying, look, it was the efforts of Josh Green. Dwight Powell was also terrific in that second quarter, making the hustle and energy plays, diving on the floor for loose balls. Josh Green was. You could tell the energy and urgency was there in the final 3 quarters of this game after they got off to a lackluster start against the Miami Heat. And they needed to have this win because as we look down the stretch now of the final 7 games of this season, the Mavericks now come home on Thursday and Friday to take on the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have to keep winning. This isn't a situation where they can take games off or find themselves trying to rest guys or that thing when it comes to trying to figure out what they need to do, because you have to put the pedal to the metal. And honestly, the Mavericks are going to have to continue to be in playoff mode because that is where they are if they want to continue to potentially lock down a top 6 seed in the Western Conference. They got another terrific performance from Dorian Finney-Smith. He was a plus 18 with 12 points, 5 of 6 on the field. And, of course, as I mentioned, with Dwight Powell and Josh Green, they were a combined plus 31 in that pivotal second quarter where they outscored the Miami Heat 33-15. So again, a complete and total team effort where the rookie Josh Green, who has been getting more and more minutes in the rotation, was able to find himself doing the little things, whether it be diving after loose balls, making nice passes to Tim Hardaway out in transition for 3-point shots. Whatever Josh Green needed to do, he did it to help this Mavericks team win, which brings up questions about how fluid these rotations are going to continue to be given what the Mavericks need to try and achieve to do for these final 7 games of the season, which means Josh Richardson could find himself on the bench a little bit more and playing a little bit more of a bench role, just depending on how matchups and things go from game to game. Rick Carlisle saying pregame that, look, these things are fluid right now, and he went with the best lineup that ended the second quarter with guys like Josh Green who were playing well to continue to build that momentum they did against the Miami Heat. A terrific team win for a Mavericks team that has to continue to win basketball games to find themselves remaining in a top 6 seed in the Western Conference. They come home to take on the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday before hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers on Friday, where they have to continue to win. Because right now, if you're the Mavericks, yeah, you're a season high, 9 games above 500. You're 20-13 on the road, but you haven't played well at home. And you need to play well at home here in these next couple of games to continue to put the pedal to the metal. With the 4th easiest schedule remaining in these final 7 games, there should be no reason why this team shouldn't finish as a top 6 seed in the Western Conference to assure themselves that they're not in the play-in situation. Because as it stands right now, the Lakers are in the 6th seed. And meanwhile, you've got teams like the Golden State Warriors, the Portland Trail Blazers, the San Antonio Spurs, and the Memphis Grizzlies all in that muddle there, trying to figure their way out to try and get themselves in that position for the Western Conference playoffs. But we'll see. A terrific effort, though, for the Dallas Mavericks, getting a 127-113 win to cool off the heat in Miami. The rookie Josh Green out of Arizona getting it done for your Dallas Mavericks. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Kevin Gray Sports. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for all things Kevin Gray Sports here on YouTube, and catch me on your home with the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers, 105.3 The Fan. This has been another episode of The Gray Area. We'll talk to you later. Peace.